Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News Within the Week, a recap of major stories. My name is Uyai and I can come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu dispatches envoys to Niger Republic. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoyeno approves 1 billion naira for payment of gratuities to retired primary school teachers. Plus, U.S. 2018 synagogue shooter sentenced to death. Details of the stories and more in a moment. Thanks for joining us. First in the news within the week, Chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government and Nigerian President Bola Tinubu on Thursday dispatched a delegation to Niger Republic with a mandate to expeditiously resolve the current political impasse in the country. The action was in line with the resolution reached at the end of the extraordinary summit of the ECOWAS held last weekend in Abuja. A statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngele, stated that the delegation headed by former Nigerian Head of State, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, retired, left for Niamey on Thursday following a briefing by President Tinubu at the State House in Abuja. The former Nigerian Head of State was joined in the delegation by the Sokoto Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, and the President of the ECOWAS Commission, His Excellency Omar Aliyu Tare. According to the statement, the President also sent a separate delegation led by Ambassador Babagana Kigimbe to engage with the leaders of Libya and Algeria on the Niger crisis. Briefing the two delegations, President Tinubu charged them to engage all stakeholders robustly with a view to doing whatever it takes to ensure a conclusive and amicable resolution of the situation in Niger for the purposes of African peace and development rather than a move to adopt the geopolitical positions of other nations.
Assignments which you're trying to accomplish. May we know what you have been able to achieve so far, sir?
Well, we have just been given our marching orders to go to Niger and convey the feelings of our heads of states in the ECOWAS region that they are not happy with what has happened, and they gave them an ultimatum that the coup peace should desist from what they are doing and give back power to an elected president. And again, to make sure that this message is sent loud and clear to them. So that's what we are here for.
With what the authority of heads of state and government have done so far, what's your assessment of this?
In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday challenged the United Kingdom to deepen its partnership with Nigeria and Africa by investing more across sectors to see the African continent attain more sustainable and broad-based prosperity. A statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngele, explained that President Tinubu made the call when he received the United Kingdom Secretary of Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, James Cleverly, Member of Parliament, in his office, calling on the United Kingdom to commit more to green development, partnerships for Nigeria and Africa. The Nigerian leader recalled the history of decades of deep symbiotic connection and economic ties between the continent and the UK, adding that the UK government must work with Nigeria and the rest of Africa to create a competitive, technologically advanced economy that will cater for the needs of all citizens. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu within the week appointed an additional ministerial nominee in a list forwarded into the Senate for screening and confirmation. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the names of the second batch of the president's ministerial nominees during the ministerial screening on Wednesday. The former Speaker, House of Representatives, and the Chief of Staff to Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila, had earlier submitted the remaining list of ministerial nominees to the Senate. The list is a completion of the remaining 11 states that have not been allotted a ministerial slot. The names include Ahmed Tijani, Bosun Tijani, Dr. Mariam Shetty, Aishak Salako, Tunji Alausa, Tanko Sununu, Adegboyega Oyetola, Atiku Bagudu, Bello Matawale, Ibrahim Gaidam, Simon Bakola Long, Lola Adejo, Shoaibu Abubakar, Tahir Maman, Aliyu Sabi, Alkali Ahmed, Henikon Lakbobiri, Umar Megari, Zephaniah Jisalo. It will be recalled that President Tinubu had last week sent 28 nominees to the Senate for screening. On the Labour protest, President Tinubu within the week met with the leaders of the organised labour, comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. The meeting came hours after the unions followed through on their plans to protest the economic hardship triggered by the discontinuance of petrol subsidy, as Tinubu announced on May 29. In a related development, the organised labour on Wednesday kicked off its protest against the anti-people policies of the President Bola Tinubu administration in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Abuja, and other states of the Federation, including Lagos, Plateau, Kaduna, Kano, Ogun, Imo, Ondo, Edo, and Akwa Ibom State. In Abuja, members of the organised labour with different paraphernalia of the unions gathered at the iconic Unity Fountain for the protest. Some officials of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and Trade Union Congress (TUC) from the FCT were spotted at the Unity Fountain with hundreds of their members. Reports say affiliated unions of the NLC and the TUC, including the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers (NUPEG), the National Union of Electricity Employers of Nigeria (NUEE), National Union of Road Transport Workers (NURTW), and the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) also joined the nationwide protest. Meanwhile, the NSC President Joe Ajaero told newsmen at the venue that there is nothing stopping the protest, adding that the organised labour will not shelve the protest until there was a desired response from the government. Meanwhile, the National Assembly (NAS) has pledged to review and address the organised labour demands within the next 1 week. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio said this when organised labour took its mass protest to the National Assembly complex, where it submitted a list of its demands on Wednesday in Abuja. The mass protest was organised by the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) over anti-poor and workers' policies of the federal government. Akpabio, who was represented by Aline Dume, Chief Whip of the Senate, assured the protesting workers that NAS was in support of their struggle. In the meantime, Katsina and Kwara State labor unions, as well as other stakeholders within the week, joined the nationwide protest action directed by the national bodies of labor movement entry over hardships triggered by President Tinubu's removal of fuel subsidy. The protesters had reached the governor's office in Ilorin, the state capital, and headed to the government house on Ahmadu Bello Way, Ilorin, to deliver their grievances to the Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak. While in Katsina State, they had converged on the state headquarters along Kano Road. According to the Katsina NLC chairman Hussaini, further action to be taken after the protest would be determined by the Organised Labour National Headquarters after I would have studied the reports submitted by the various chapters of the union on the protest. Still on labour protest, the Akwa Ibom State Labour Unions (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) joined the nationwide protest and strike action, directed by the national bodies of labour movements in the country over hardships triggered by by President Bola Tinubu. Our correspondent Esther Otoyo brings about the rest of the report.
But the protesters converged at the State House of Assembly complex at Udodoma in Uyo Metropolis with placards to deliver their grievances. Speaking at the venue, the state chairman and other challenges, Akwa Ibom is the only state that has not complied to the directives of the Federal Education Authority to convert the School of Nurses to the College of Nursing Sciences, noting that if by December 2023 the directive is not adhered to, all the School of Nursing in the state will be shut down.
Let me inform us, Mr. Speaker and members of the House, that Akwa Ibom State is the only state in Nigeria, I want to be quoted properly, that the Federal Education Authority asked that the School of Nurses should be converted to College of Nursing Sciences. All the School of Nursing in Nigeria have complied with this directive. Ministry of Health, Commissioner and Permanent Secretary are playing politics because they don't want to transfer that particular instruction of His Excellency to Ministry of Education. The benefit is that if it is with Ministry of Education, there will be telephone assessment for them to build their facilities. And therefore, if by December 2023, Akwa Ibom State government does not put in place covering council for School of Nursing to begin the award of HND, all the School of Nursing in Akwa Ibom will be shut down.
Also, the state chairman of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, Dominic Abang, noted that the increase in the price of fuel has resulted to an increase in the cost of living of Nigerians and citizens of the state.
Today, all our minimum wage they enter one tank of car. Yes, government, you good? Yeah. You good? Yeah. How many say we don't job, bro? We work out for leg, bro. Just to don't collect money to put here for car. Mr. Speaker, we are here because we trade come here. We work out empty bag come here. Right? We don't feel afford. Here we don't feel afford.
In response, the Speaker State House of Assembly, Udeme Otong, represented by the member representing Ikodekpene and Obodokara Federal Constituency, Jerry Otu, said every demand made by the NLC and TUC has been taken note of and will be forwarded to the state government for effective implementation. He pleaded for more time on the part of the state government for effective response to their demands.
So we are not going to remove one item from your demand. Everything has been written and some of you have recorded them. We can call for the message that we prepare and take it to the governor. Everything you have demanded, we are not against it. Respect your opinion and we'll pass it on to the appropriate authority and your answers will start coming.
Away from that, the federal government within the week announced plans to shut down operations of Chevron Warri Jetty within 2 weeks. The plan to shut Chevron Nigeria Limited, according to the federal government, is due to their disregard and refusal to grant access to stevedore services despite extant laws and standard procedures. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Transportation, Magdalene Ajani, revealed this at the meeting between Chevron Nigeria Limited, Bena France, accordingly to protect that at all times. Ajani notified Chevron representatives that the NPA, as the master stevedore, has assigned a stevedore company in the last 2 years to the Warri Jetty, but has been denied access by Chevron despite efforts by the NPA. Meanwhile, the administration of President Bola Tinubu has stated its commitment to a new era of openness and access to information through various media channels in the country. The new special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngele, emphasized this while speaking with newsmen in the presidential villa. According to him, the president has directed that no public official should talk down to Nigerians, adding that the administration will also be opening up to the presidential villa in an unprecedented way to promote transparency and accountability. On judicial matters, Justice Nicholas Awebe leave to serve the Director General of the Department of State Services (DSS), Yusuf Magaji Biche. Justice Nicholas Awebe granted the order following an ex parte application moved by Emefele's counsel Ogonaya Sonuga. Reports say the application was supported by a 15-paragraph affidavit deposed by Adeogun Ayodele Samuel from Victor Okpara Law Firm. Recall that the court had on the 25th of July 2023 granted Emefiele 20 million naira bail after he was arraigned on charges of illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Tuesday said, contrary to what some people may think, it has nothing to hide regarding the conduct of the 2023 general elections. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu stated this at the post-election review of the 2023 general elections with media stakeholders in Lagos. Yakubu said that there were many positive things that came out of the 2023 elections despite the many challenges. The chairman admitted that despite the challenges during the last elections, there would be continuous improvement by the Commission in conduct of elections nationwide. Yakubu said INEC invited media executives that operated at the state, local government and community levels that had covered the elections and interacted with Nigerians in their local languages. He said the Commission, in addition to what it did in Abuja previous week, would also listen to the executives. In politics, the National Executive Committee (NEC) of the All Progressives Congress (APC) on Thursday elected former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje as the national chairman of the party and the former Senate spokesman Ajibola Bashiru from Osun State as its national secretary. Reports say the two party officials were elected at the 12th NEC meeting of the party held at the Congress Hall of Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. Addressing party leaders after his emergence, Ganduje thanked the president and promised that internal democracy would prevail in the party during his tenure. The ex-Kano governor also pledged to ensure a scientific register of party members and pay utmost attention to election management and conflict resolution. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu, while addressing the 12th NEC of the party, said the APC had won the elections and that it was now time to deliver the promises of good governance to the Nigerian people. Visibly absent at the NEC meeting were ex-President Muhammadu Buhari and former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. In another development, Lagos State government within the week concluded plans to short and divert traffic at Ilepo Expressway, Alimosho local government area of the state. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transportation Abdulafiz Toriola announced this on Wednesday. Toriola explained that the construction was part of efforts to address the perennial flooding challenge at the Ilepo bus stop area. He said there would be traffic diversion at the Kantawa-Ilepo axis of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway for the construction of culverts. Back here on the home front, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino within the week announced that he has approved the sum of 1 billion naira for the payment of gratuities to the retired primary school teachers. Governor Ono, who made the announcement when he addressed the organized labor in the state, who were on a peaceful protest over the effects of the fuel subsidy removal on the people, also announced that the sum of 800 million naira had been approved to clear the backlog of leave grants owed the workers, stressing that moving forward, he had also approved that leave grants be paid alongside with salaries to avoid unnecessary accumulation of entitlements. On the issue of the protest, the governor assured the workers that in 10 days, a committee will be set up for the disbursement of palliatives sent by the federal government, including that of the state government, to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal on the people. He used the occasion to thank the people for the support he received during the recently concluded elections and pledged his commitment to the welfare of the workers. Earlier, the state chairman of the Nigeria Labour Union (NLC), Comrade Sonny James, had said the workers were protesting against what they described as the anti-people policies of the President Bola Tinubu-led federal government. He stressed that there was need for the state government to meet with the federal government to find out the beneficiaries of the monies recovered from the subsidy removal and ensure that the palliatives released by the federal government trickles down to all the states of the federation. He commended Governor Eno on his workers-friendly disposition and expressed confidence in his leadership style. Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State Government and the Nigerian Navy within the week indicated readiness to collaborate on security of maritime environment to enhance the accomplishment of the blue economy and tourism components of the Arise agenda. The indication was gathered during an interaction between the Akwa Ibom State Governor, Pastor Omoino, and Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, CNS Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, who led an entourage of top-ranking officers of the Nigerian Navy in the courtesy visit to Government House, Uyo. Speaking during the visit, Governor Moino welcomed the CNS to the state and expressed gratitude of the people and government for the visit and for premium given Akwa Ibom in Nigerian Navy's scheme under his command, while congratulating Ogada on his promotion to the rank of Vice Admiral. Governor Eno appreciated the kind words of the Navy Chief on the Arise agenda, enunciating that Akwa Ibom over the time has been blessed with visionary leaders and that the pursuit of the Arise agenda is with hope that the present administration will add reasonably to the development of the state. The governor said to accomplish the tourism components of the Arise agenda and development of the blue economy, which has to do with sea-based wealth, there was great need to partner the Navy to improve maritime security, given the coastal location of Akwa Ibom State. The Akwa Ibom Chief Executive also sought partnership with the Navy in building ferries and leisure ships for the water transport and tourism venture proposal of the Rise agenda. He extolled the academic excellence and high level of discipline maintained by the Navy schools in the state and sued for increased slots for Akwa Ibom children as host state. In his remarks, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, congratulated Umoino on his emergence as the people's preferred governor. This, he said, signposted a good thing for the state, given his timely launch of the very promising Arise agenda as his governance blueprint. According to the Naval Chief, Akwa Ibom State remains critical to the operation of the Nigerian Navy, both in the military and policing aspects. In the meantime, a mental health expert in the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital, UUTH, Dr. Enobo Nkanga, has said that the current economic situation of the country and other challenges facing Nigeria are capable of increasing mental health issues, such as depression in the country. Dr. Nkanga described depression as a mood disorder that causes persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest in social or fun-filled activities. She urged depressed people to seek medical help and charged the federal government to address the economic challenges to the country to reduce the risk of mental health development.
Disorder. It's a disorder that affects a person's ability to experience their environment, themselves. The economy is very important in whether or not an individual comes down. So it's poor economy like we're having now adversely affects the mental health of its populace, and most people would come down with depression. People who are predisposed, because the prevalence of depression generally global is about 33% of people. That's Nigeria's statistic. 33% of Nigerians live with depression. So that's very high. So if you count 10 people, 3 people are depressed. Awareness is one thing, like you're doing now, that's excellent. If people know what depression looks like, then they might be able to do something about it. If we have basic health facilities, mothers can attend antenatal care, and then adverse outcomes during pregnancy can be reduced. So the child's brain is already protected in utero. The child comes out, is well fed, the mother doesn't have to work 3 or 4 jobs in order to make ends meet, so she can focus on her attention on the upbringing and the emotional support that child needs, because she doesn't have to worry about several sources of income which are meager and can't support her. And then provision of healthcare professionals. Nigeria is lacking in healthcare professionals, even more so mental health care.
Still to come in the news. Wheat surges 4% as Russia hits Ukrainian ports. Stay tuned for details of this and more after this time out. Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. Looking at Africa within the week, Cote d'Ivoire's nationalist former president Henry Konan Bedi, who had not excluded the possibility of a return to power even in his later days within the week, died at the age of 80. The family of cocoa planters. Bedi was the chosen successor to Cote d'Ivoire's founding father Felix Houphouët-Boigny, who ruled over the West African nation from independence in 1960 from France until his death in 1993 at the age of 88. Bedi served as president from 1993 until 1999, when he was overthrown by the military in the country's first ever coup. Still in there to negotiate with the coup leaders who seized power last week, adding that a military intervention in the junta-led country was the last option on the table. The diplomatic push comes as French and other European aircraft continue to evacuate hundreds of foreign nationals from Niger's capital, Niamey. Nigeria, the current chair of ECOWAS and West Africa's military and economic superpower, had vowed to take a firm line against coups that have proliferated across the region since 2020, most of them the outcome of a bloody jihadist insurgency. The regional bloc on Sunday imposed trade and financial sanctions and gave the coup leaders a week to reinstate Niger's democratically elected president or face potential use of force. Elsewhere, Rwandan President Paul Kagame on Tuesday appointed his daughter to a key position in his office. Angie Kagame, 29, has been made the Deputy Executive Director in charge of the Strategy and Policy Council, according to a statement of a cabinet meeting chaired by Kagame. The statement also announced other appointments, including new ambassadors to Ethiopia, Morocco, Egypt, and Guinea. Kagame has been working in the president's office as a senior policy analyst since 2019 and holds a political science and international affairs degree from U.S. universities. Two of President Kagame's other children also hold positions in government. It will be recalled that his eldest son, Ivan Kagame, was appointed in 2020 to the Rwandan Development Board, which is tasked with fast-tracking economic growth through the private sector. The third son, Ian, is an officer of the Rwandan Defense Force and was last year enrolled into the Presidential Guard. In the meantime, Tunisia's autocratic president Kais Saied on Tuesday sacked Prime Minister Njala Bouden. The country's first female prime minister was handpicked by President Saied to lead the government after he removed her predecessor 2 years ago and took control of state powers. Reports say her dismissal was followed by the immediate swearing-in of Ahmed Achani, who previously worked as the Tunisian Central Bank. Still in Africa, South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma on Wednesday returned from Russia, where he had been receiving medical treatment. His trip came after he lost a case last month at the Constitutional Court, where he had tried to overturn a ruling that he must return to prison. It will be recalled that the Constitutional Court ruled 1-year-old until Friday to submit reasons why he should not serve out the rest of his 15-month sentence. Zuma was released in September 2021 after serving less than 8 weeks. Meanwhile, the United Nations mission in the war-torn country within the week warned and said South Sudan was not yet prepared to hold elections next year. The polls, now scheduled for December 2024, will be the first in the world's newest country, which seceded from Sudan 12 years ago. Reports say a brutal civil war and stuttering peace process have long delayed them. Elsewhere, a group of medical students from Sudan have been welcomed on Tuesday to Rwanda to continue their studies after a civil war erupted in mid-April. Reports say their campus at the University of Medical Sciences and Technology was overrun and turned into a base by fighters in the capital, Khartoum, where paramilitary forces and the army are involved in a power struggle. The 160 undergraduates who were 8 months away from completing their course have been offered space along with their lecturers at the University of Rwanda. The group, who are mainly made up of women, will also be practicing in local hospitals. Still in Africa, the top decision-making body of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church on Thursday condemned the excommunicated Tigran clergy who were involved in the appointment of 6 bishops. This is the latest episode in a growing rift within the church over its response to the 2-year-long civil war in Tigray, which ended in November. It will be recalled that last week the Tigray Orthodox Taiwedo Church ordained 6 bishops at a ceremony held at St. Mary's Church in Asum. In response, the Ethiopia Holy Synod revoked the Tigray clergy's priestly authority. It said the bishops should be referred to by their secular names and be denied any spiritual services from the church in their lifetime and after their death. Still in Africa, an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.6 has reportedly hit northern Ethiopia and the neighboring Eritrea. Reports say no deaths were recorded or any kinds of destruction. Meanwhile, the senior Tigray official Solomon Mesho said all districts near the border with Eritrea felt the tremors. In the meantime, Senegal on Wednesday suspended TikTok, saying the video sharing platform had been used to fan violence sparked by the detention of opposition figure Ousmane Sonko. Authorities had already cut mobile data access on Monday, with several human rights groups denouncing the measure, as well as the dissolution of Sonko's party. Unrest erupted after Sonko was charged on Monday with fomenting insurrection, undermining state security, criminal association with a terrorist body, and other crimes. According to reports, at least 3 people have died in the unrest, while 2 others were killed Tuesday in a petrol bomb attack on a bus in the outskirts of the capital, Dakar. On the foreign scene, Russia's Supreme Court within the week rejected an appeal by prominent investigative journalist Ivan Sratnov against a 22-year prison sentence for high treason. A 33-year-old was convicted last year of giving Russian military information to Zesh intelligence and a Russian-German political scientist, charges he denies. Reports say the appeal hearing was held in private and journalists were only invited to hear the court's decision, which left his sentence unchanged. Meanwhile, the sentence has been criticized by human rights groups and former colleagues who argue he was targeted for writing about embarrassing incidents in the Russian army. He had worked as a special correspondent for Russia's Kommersant newspaper, where he wrote about Russian defense contracts and arms deliveries. Still on the foreign scene, Robert Bowers, an American truck driver, was sentenced to death on Wednesday for massacring 11 Jewish worshippers 5 years ago in the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. The 12-member federal jury unanimously ruled that Bowers should be executed for the October 27, 2018 mass shooting. President Joe Biden's Justice Department has put a moratorium on federal executions. However, meaning it is not clear whether the sentence will ever be carried out on Bowers. The 50-year-old was found guilty in June of all 63 charges leveled against him, including hate crimes resulting in murder and attempted murder. It will be recalled that Bowers methodically tracked down his victims at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life synagogue, shooting many times from close range as he yelled, "All Jews must die." Meanwhile, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been reportedly charged within the week for plotting to overturn his 2020 election defeat. He is allegedly accused of 4 counts, including conspiracy to defraud the U.S. in the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. Trump, age 77, who is again running for president, has denied the charges, describing the case as ridiculous. Elsewhere, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday said the latest drone strike on the Odessa port infrastructure by Russia was an attack on global food security and called on the international community to intervene. Zelensky noted that Russia can and must be stopped in the face of attacks that deliberately destroyed Ukrainian grain elevators in Odessa. He, however, commended Ukraine's air defense units for another heroic night after the Ukrainian Air Force shot down 23 Iranian Sahad 136-131 drones that were aimed at Odessa. In business, wheat prices within the week surpassed the $6.80 per bushel mark, rebounding from a recent two-week low of 6.43 cents on August 1st, triggered by renewed concerns over supplies due to attacks on Ukrainian ports. Wednesday's reports showed that Russian drones targeted ports and grain storage facilities in the southern region of Ukraine's coastal Odessa, particularly after the collapse of a wartime deal that allowed Ukrainian sea exports amid the increasing attacks on ports. Still in business, U.S. crude oil inventories on Wednesday went down by 17.049 million barrels in the last week of July 2023, the biggest draw since records began in 1982, and way more than market expectations of a 1.367 million fall, the Energy Information Administration weekly report showed. Also, crude stockpiles, which include diesel and heating oil, fell by 0.8 million barrels, more than expectations for a 0.1 million barrel rise. Meanwhile, gasoline stocks rose by 1.48 million barrels compared to forecast of a 1.3 million barrel drop. Meanwhile, the UK government within the week announced that it would continue its focus on building future investment in Nigeria, as well as its collaboration with Nigerian Exchange Limited (NGX). This was stated by James Cleverly, UK Secretary of State, during the closing gong ceremony held on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited (NGX). Cleverly observed that the NGX, through its operations, seemed to have an enticing ability to attract investment, noting that investment ignites economic growth, induces profit, unlocks economic potential, and feeds through jobs and prosperity for everyone in and outside of Nigeria. Still to come in the news. South Africa stunned Italy in stoppage time to qualify round of 16. Stay tuned for details of this and more after this timeout.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now in completion of the news stories. In health, during the week, we saw the Nigerian Medical Association Lagos State Chapter on Tuesday direct all the doctors working in the 3 government hospitals on the Lagos Island to begin an indefinite strike over the death of its colleague Dr. Ware Diaso. The NMA also declared a 5-day mourning period in the state and asked doctors in the other government-owned hospitals to scale down activities as a mark of respect for the dead colleague. The hospitals to embark on the indefinite strike are the General Hospital Odan, Lagos, Lagos Island Maternity Hospital, Lagos, and the Mercy Street Children's Hospital, Lagos. The association said Diaso died on Tuesday at the General Hospital Odan, Lagos, after she was trapped in the elevator for more than 40 minutes before she was rescued, and that there was no blood available to resuscitate her. The NMA said this known in a press statement signed by its state's chairman, Dr. Benjamin Olobetu, and Secretary Ismail Ajibowo. Still in health, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, within the week said improved breastfeeding practices can save more than 100,000 children each year in Nigeria and $22 million in health care treatments cost related to inadequate breastfeeding. The UNICEF Nigeria representative, Christian Mwandwit, made this known in a statement during the commemoration of the World Breastfeeding Week in Abuja, celebrated annually from August 1st to the 7th across the world. Mandwit said that it could also generate an additional $21 billion for the economy over children's productive years by increasing cognitive capacity and preventing premature mortality in the early years. According to her, breast milk holds significant importance for the health and well-being of children, mothers, and society at large. HCDA and the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, NSSF, have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at enhancing routine immunization to reduce the infant mortality rate in the country. The NSSF is meant to provide funding support to conduct, strengthen, and optimize outreaches for routine immunization in 3 of the most affected states, Cross River, Kwara, and Ogun for 6 months. Speaking to pressmen during the event to kickstart routine immunization, the General Manager and Chief Executive Officer NSSF, Dr. Fejiro Nwoko, noted that the 6-month pilot initiative seeks to improve immunization coverage and reduce the number of zero-dose children who have not received any vaccine in the supported states. Meanwhile, the Director, Disease Control and Immunization, NPHCDA, Dr. Basi Okposen, noted that both parties were excited about the collaboration, adding that it will have a positive impact on routine immunization in the country. In sport, a late strike from South Africa's Thembi Kgatlana within the week stunned Italy and sent the Southern African country through to the 2023 Women's World Cup knockout stage for the first time ever. In the opening exchanges, Italy were comfortably the better side as Ariana Caruso converted an early penalty and the best possession. However, Bendita Ossi's shock own goal from 25 yards out changed things. South Africa were back in the game and they returned after the halftime interval drastically improved, having been fairly scrappy in the first half. The African champions piled on the pressure and got their reward with a 66-minute goal from Hilda Magai, who latched onto a clever through ball from the bright, energetic Kgatlana. Italy equalized just minutes later, though, with a Caruso helping in a flick on from substitute Cristiana Girelli, and yet they couldn't hang on again. Still in sports, former Italy goalkeeper and World Cup winner Gianluigi Buffon on Wednesday retired from football at the age of 45. Buffon brings an end to a 28-year career that saw him lift the World Cup in 2006, along with 10 Serie A titles with Juventus and League One with Paris Saint-Germain. He ends his career where it began in 1995 at Parma, now a Serie B club. Buffon, who had a deal with Parma until 2024, made 19 appearances last season as he struggled with injuries. He began his career at Parma's academy and made his Serie A debut for the club in November 1995 before joining Juventus in 2001. In a £32.6 million deal, a world record for a goalkeeper at the time, Buffon spent most of his career in Turin despite a stint at PSG in 2018-2019. In total, he made a record 657 appearances in the Italian top flight and is the most capped goalkeeper of all time with 176 appearances for Italy. Meanwhile, former Barcelona and Brazil defender Dani Alves has been formally indicted by a Spanish judge after he was jailed for alleged sexual assault in January. Alves was arrested over an allegation he assaulted a woman in a Barcelona nightclub in December. The judge said she had found to be released rejected claims he had consensual sex with his accuser. His lawyer said the player would not slow down the process by appealing against the indictment. On our entertainment news, U.S. performer Lizzo was on Wednesday sued by 3 of her former dancers who alleged the body-positive pop diva created a hostile work environment. The suit filed in Los Angeles accuses Lizzo, whose self-love message has resonated around the globe, as well as other defendants of various violations of California labor law. According to reports, one of the allegations centers around an Amsterdam red light district sex show, which the dancers say they felt pressured to attend. The suit alleges at the show Lizzo pressured her dancers to interact with the nude performers. It also alleges that Lizzo's dance leader, Shirlene Quigley, frequently made sexual comments and proselytized her Christian beliefs, especially against premarital sex. Still on entertainment, Ruger is set to assert his place as a hit maker with the upcoming release of his anticipated debut album. Since introducing himself in 2020 with his impressive debut EP Pandemic, Ruger has emerged as one of Afrobeat's finest all-round artists whose writing, vocals, singing and stagemanship are at an elevated level. After touring and performing in Copenhagen, Stockholm, Rome, Brescia, Oslo, Dublin, Ireland and Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Montreal and Edmonton, Ruger is set to kick off his North America tour with the first show in Boston. Lastly, anticipated music video of his love-centric tune, Family. Reports say that the heartfelt composition originates where it takes its place at the resolute third track, embodying the essence of genuine affection and unwavering loyalty. Over the years, Ida Barton has undoubtedly risen as an unstoppable force, garnering admiration and acclaim across Africa and Europe's musical landscape with his mega hit No Wahala, which is among the most streamed Afrobeat songs on Spotify. Now for you at this time on the news this week, of course, a recap of major stories within the week. My name is Uyai Anyeka, and thanks for watching. And also, I hope you follow us across all the social media platforms, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng, to enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless you.